We often try to think our emotions away, but in reality, this does not work. Hi, I'm Lacey. I work as a mental health counselor, and today I just want to normalize feelings. In my practice as a counselor, I often run into clients who are judging themselves for the way that they feel. And they may even say, I shouldn't be feeling this way. But if we look at that statement from a cognitive behavioral perspective, I shouldn't be feeling this way is a should statement, and it is a cognitive distortion. Should statements are unrealistic rules and demands that we put on ourselves that usually only make matters worse. Often when this sort of thinking comes up in session, I immediately start to think and sometimes ask, what makes you think you're not supposed to feel that way? How do you know you're not supposed to feel that way? And the even crazier part is majority of the time when a person is placing these kinds of demands on themselves and saying they shouldn't be feeling the way they're feeling, they're usually in a situation that they have never been in before. And usually the situation is pretty challenging. So then that begs the question, how could you have known how you were going to feel or how you were going to handle this situation? Right off the bat, they are placing unrealistic expectations on themselves. We're all guilty of this. Our natural tendency is to want to reject or push away or think away our feelings as if they're not valuable, but they do have value. We also expect to control how they show up, when they show up, and that's also partly due to just an unwillingness to get to know our feelings and kind of a mental attitude that they're inconvenient. And that's kind of sad. So, here are some examples of normal human emotions surfacing in situations that make sense. Grief will show up after a loss of an attachment of some sort. It could be the loss of a job, of a person, of a home, of a relationship. Anger may show up if you feel undervalued or underestimated. It can show up when you're feeling someone push past your boundaries. Anger is a signal to reestablish those boundaries. Sadness can show up after a loss. It can show up when you're having to come to terms with a tough reality or when you're in need of support. You may feel frustrated that things aren't going the way you want them to. And this frustration can then be a motivator for you to change things. It would be nice if we could transition into seeing how valuable our emotions are rather than always rejecting them. If we look again at grief, maybe more than any other emotion, is one that people try to intellectualize and control. And that makes total sense. Grief is a powerful emotion, and the feelings that come up can feel overwhelming. But I do hear people say, I haven't allowed myself to grieve properly. That indicates to me that they are holding their grief at a distance. Many people do this with people who are grieving. The more they try to hold their grief at a distance and control it, it kind of seems like the more distress they are under, the more of a struggle there seems to be. But the minute they begin to accept that it is there and make room for it, there then begins to be a flow rather than a block. And even though grief is hard, it seems to get a little easier. Right now, it still seems more common for us to put up a wall with our emotions. But it could be beneficial to start to learn new ways of relating to them. So the first way is to be curious. Instead of saying, I don't want to be feeling this way. This sucks. You could just say, okay, this is interesting. Being curious about your emotion changes the struggle, it lessens it, if you think about it, rather than trying to push or stop. You're kind of allowing, and you just have a curiosity. It could also decrease the intensity, because it seems that the more we try to stop or suppress, sometimes that can make it feel more intense. When you're being curious, you can tune into your body and see where your emotions are showing up, how they're feeling. Is it warm, tingly, tense? Is it sharp? Is it painful? Is it cold? Where is it? Is it in your chest, your throat, your arms, your head, your stomach? And just watch it. And another piece to this is, what are your emotions trying to signal to you? Are they trying to help you grow, process, set a boundary, take action? What is it? So you're just being curious. The next thing is check your thinking. This always just blows my mind that we have thoughts going crazy in our minds and we never check them. If you're saying to yourself, I shouldn't be feeling this way, just know that that thinking is distorted. It's not true. Because how could you possibly know how you're supposed to feel in any given situation? When you have that line of thinking, you're placing unrealistic demands on yourself. And that kind of compounds what you're experiencing. If I notice I'm feeling angry and I don't want to allow for that, then not only am I going to feel angry, but I'm going to feel bad about myself for feeling angry. Albert Ellis is the creator of rational emotive behavioral therapy. He said that if you can become aware of your thoughts, then it can greatly increase your power to change them. If you can change the way you think, you can change the way you feel. If you are placing unrealistic demands on yourself that are causing you more distress, then make an effort to become aware of what you're telling yourself and change it. Instead of saying, I shouldn't feel this way, you could say, it makes total sense that I'm feeling this way, even though I don't want to be. Or I'm having some feelings right now, and that makes me human. Reframing it to whatever feels true to you. And the last thing is, your feelings signal a need. Based on what you're feeling, what are you needing in the moment? Are you needing rest and alone time? Are you needing support? A change of environment, validation? Maybe you need to stand up for yourself. So I get feeling your feelings can be scary. I get that. Just start by being curious and tuning into your body and figuring out what your feelings are trying to signal to you. Figuring out what it is you're needing in the moment, because pushing them away and keeping them at bay will keep you from getting to know them. And the more you get to know them, the less scary they are. I used to work with adolescents, and I used to tell them that to be physically strong, you go to the gym, you work out, you lift weights. You don't avoid weights if you want to become strong. And it's kind of the same with your emotions. If you want to become emotionally strong and familiar with your feelings and not afraid of them, you have to be willing to acknowledge them and to look at them, hold them, become aware of their behavior and how they show up. And that is how you will become emotionally strong. But just to sum up the video, we are more likely to try and think our emotions away than we are to actually acknowledge them and understand them. But that's not always helpful. Maybe momentarily, but in the long run, it's not. Changing the way you relate to your feelings and your emotions will just provide you with tools that you will have forever. If you notice you're placing unrealistic demands on yourself, and saying to yourself, I shouldn't be feeling this way, immediately recognize those thoughts and try and reframe them. Because typically, when you say those things to yourself, it doesn't make sense in the moment. What you're feeling makes sense in the moment. We treat our emotions like they have no value and we reject them, push them away, think them away. But in reality, they do have value. And if we're willing to kind of look at them and be curious, not only will we be less afraid, but it could provide us with a lot of good information that we need to move forward. So at any point, you can make room for what you're feeling and change how you relate to it. But of course, it's always up to you. Thank you for watching.